part of the Press Play Podcast Network.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for stopping by to Sabol Brothers on the Baseline podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Networks. Now, I'm John Sabol.
And I'm Scott Sabol.
Thanks for joining us. We've got a really cool guest here who's got massive ties to Northeast Ohio. And if you're a fan of football and have been watched football here in probably the last 15 years, you probably know him really well, especially watching football here in the AFC when the Browns would play him. He played 6 years in the NFL with the Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a Cleveland native. Born in Kent, Ohio, and a Collinwood High School alum, as well as a Mount Union University alum as well, who was drafted in the fourth round in the 2011 draft by the Jaguars. A two-sport athlete in college, football and track with the Purple Raiders over in Alliance at Mount Union. Our guest today, ladies and gentlemen, Cecil Shorts III. Cecil, what's going on, my man?
Hey, you did your homework, brother. I appreciate the nice intro, man. Good to see y'all.
Hey, Cecil, I remember, and I don't know if you remember, but when we met each other, it would have been in like the fall of 2016 when I was working in Tampa and you were signed with the Bucs in September of that year, if I remember correctly.
Yep.
And I remember talking to you in the locker room because I knew of you, obviously, watching football, and you're from Cleveland. And I'm like, hey, man, I'm from Cleveland too. You know, I remember when you're at Mount Union and we were reminiscing and you were always talking about, you knew all about like Fox 8. This was before I worked there. My brother still worked there. Friday Night Touchdown. You mentioned our colleague at Fox 8, John Tellage, who covered you.
Yeah.
And it was a great time always for me to see someone from Cleveland down there in Tampa that had ties there that played for the Buccaneers. Was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, man. It's I think it's anytime you meet someone from the same area as you, it's kind of like that connection, right? It's kind of this understand each other. You got the same background. You understand, like, okay, if you're from Cleveland, you're a blue collar type of guy. You're a hard worker. You appreciate certain things. You know, I knew all about, like you said, Fox 8, John Tellage, who's a legend, plain dealer, stuff like that. It's little things that we know that we can connect on. So it was always cool when we first met in Tampa Bay.
And before we get into your NFL career, what are you doing right now? For those listening.
So a few things. One, you kind of see my office here. I'm a dean of students at Second Baptist School for a middle school, which is like a assistant principal type thing. I'm in charge of discipline, which is fun and not fun. I get to, hold kids accountable. And at the same time, there's difficult conversations that needs to have sometimes with parents and stuff like that. I also coached high school football the last 4 years. So last season, I was the offensive coordinator here. 3 seasons before that, I was the receiver coach here. This year I took a year off, kind of just to be with my family. My wife and I have 7 kids, and my son's in the 7th grade now. So I coached middle school football this year, which is a lot of fun. Get to coach him. He's a quarterback, so that was a blast. And I do some other middle school sports, like middle school softball and middle school girls basketball, because again, I'm a dean of students, so that's a good way to me to get to know the kids. It's a good way for me to know the boys, because we got a bunch of boys that play football. Like 70 boys came out, 7th, 8th grade, had a good season, won a championship. And then on the girls' side of things, I get to talk to, interact with the softball and the basketball girls and build that relationship. So when I do have to discipline them or hold them accountable, they know it's coming from a place of love and not just I'm trying to be mean or whatever the case may be. So busy. Oh, and on top of that, I almost forgot. I do some stuff with the Texans. So I'm the in-game host for the Houston Texans. So all the entertainment you see on field during the halftime and timeouts, I'm on the field hosting, having fun with the fans. It's kind of a cool way for me to still be in the community, still interact with fans in a different way, still be close to the field, on the field. So it's pretty cool. A lot of hosting events around Houston. So I'm definitely staying busy. Do a little bit of radio, sports radio here and there. So I got 7 kids. I'm always busy, but I try to stay busy with the work life too.
Yeah, we're my brother and I mean, I'm the oldest. We have 3 sisters and my brother. So we have 5 siblings. So we kind of sort of get it from from inside the bubble. So you work with middle school kids. How is that? I mean, that can be a little bit of a challenge. You go from playing professional football and then you do all your outside stuff, and now you got middle school kids that are you're trying to mold them. Talk about the challenges with that.
You know what? You have to love middle school kids to do it. Because they call it like the messy middle, where kids are trying to figure out who they are. They're trying different things. They're curious. They're growing up. They're maturing. They're going through these weird stages of life. So it's difficult at times, but I love it. I honestly love it. The opportunities you get to help mentor, to help come alongside the parents really, and help kind of parent the children and be there for their child, because we're around their children 8 hours a day. During the week and during the school time. So we're around their child a lot. So to be a positive influence, to coach the kids, to get to know the kids, for me, it falls right in the category of what I want to do, and just be a good mentor, and kind of it's my way of giving back to the community I'm in. So is it the messy middle at times? Absolutely. Does it get on my nerves sometimes? Yes. But I love it, and it's worth it at the end of the day.
That's good to hear, man. Always, every athlete we talk to on our podcast, the big thing for them now in their post-playing career and enjoying retirement and raising families is giving back to the community. So it's always refreshing to hear that. And you're certainly doing that down there in Houston. Cecil, let's go back to your Mount Union days. Anybody that knows Ohio football knows the powerhouse that Mount Union is in the Division III level. Yeah. You went there, 4 years, 3-time All-American in football. You're All-American in track too. What was it like playing for Mount Union and winning a national championship there?
You know what? It's special. And I think I took it for granted because it's not rare that. So I was there 5 years. I redshirted my freshman year. And every single year I was there, we went to the national championship. Like every single year I was there, we won at least 14 games. We either 14-1 or 15-0. Like there was no other time, right? We expected to be there every year. We expected to win a national championship every single year. And it wasn't like that for me in high school. It wasn't like that for me in Little League football. It wasn't like that for me in any other sport, right? And when I got in the league, I went to a team and we weren't very good. Jacksonville for 4 years. I think we won 11 games in my 4 years there, right? But it made me realize, hey, what we did was special. Like what Mount Union has going, even before I got there, and even after I got there, what they do there is special. So I don't think I realized how special it was, how meaningful it was. And I kind of give credit to really the head man in charge, who's kind of passed it down now, but Larry Karras. He does a great job of putting us in positions to succeed as players, helping us as young men, really holding us accountable, being there for us, making sure we go to class, making sure we on top of our playbook and lifting and et cetera. But what he has done, I mean, he coached, 25 plus years, maybe in under 25 losses. I guess it's unbelievable the stuff he was able to do. You know what I mean? Of course, he's a college football Hall of Fame. He's still the athletic director there, still helps out. But what he is able to do was special. And I learned a lot from him there. I was blessed to be able to be under some crazy experienced coaches. The head coach of Iowa State, Matt Campbell, he's a Mount Union alum and was the offensive coordinator there my freshman year. Jason Candle, the head coach of the University of Toledo, was the receiver coach and eventually became the offensive coordinator when I was there. And he left me to go to Toledo, by the way. There's multiple other coaches there that are current coaches in the NFL. Tom Manning was a tight ends coach for the Colts right now. He was the offensive line coach my freshman year, went to Iowa State, went to Toledo. There's so many coaches I can name that are doing well at that level. So we were coached well. We were prepared. And I didn't realize how special that was till I got older, right? Mm-hmm. But it's a special place, man, Mount Union. And I didn't necessarily want to go there. Yeah, of course, you got dreams of going Division I. You got dreams of playing at the highest levels. And that time didn't come for me. I'm like, I had some D2 situations I could have went to where they wanted me to switch positions or the school wasn't that good in football. And in December of my senior year, I think 2005, I graduated 2006. My dad and I watched Mount Union on TV, and a guy named Pierre Garçon, who ended up getting drafted 6th round and had like a 12-year NFL career. He caught a pass, was running down the sideline and like dove in the end zone. I'm like, hey, who is this team? And they're good. My dad knows everything. He's a football junkie. He knows everything Ohio. He knows everything football. He's just a sports junkie. He broke it down to me like, hey, we get a chance to go there. That's a big deal. Mm-hmm. It was D3, but that's a really big deal. And I was able to make history there. Like I was there at one point, he was the all-time leading rusher in all of college football, named Nate Kamick. I was there with it was just amazing, man. Like my time there was special, and what they had built there is extremely special. So I'm grateful, man, for the opportunity. I don't know if I answered your question. I was just talking.
No, man, you did.
That's
Absolutely.
perfect. That's perfect. So you're drafted by Jacksonville in the 4th round. You played with Pierre Garcon, and he was drafted by the Colts. How much did him getting drafted affect you? When you saw that, you kind of went into that a little bit, but I'm sure that just kind of lit the fire.
Yes. So the NFL is a copycat league, right? If they see one person get drafted from a school and it's working out, they're going to try to do the same thing. If they see one formation working, or for example, the Wildcat was hot with the Miami Dolphins or Ronnie Brown, old running back from Auburn, and then a couple other teams tried to do it, right? It's like a copycat league. They're always trying to find the next guy, the next step above somebody. So when Pierre got drafted, number one, it opened my eyes like, whoa, you can be from a Division III school and get an opportunity. Number two, I think his second year in the league, he really took off. So he played with Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, and they went to the Super Bowl, I think, that year. And he had somewhere, and that was towards the end of Reggie and Marvin's career. So that was where Anthony Gonzalez and Pierre Garcon were kind of stepping up and taking that role. Like, hey, we can make plays. So Pierre had like 800 yards that year, really good year, making plays everywhere. And they were like, okay, who is this kid? Where's he from? And I have at Mount Union breaking all of Pierre's records and chasing after him. That was kind of my goal. Like, hey, if he can make it, okay, I can make it, but I had to put the work in. And I have to, my dad always said, they'll find you if you dominate your level. You can't just be good. You can't just be all conference. You have to prove you don't belong each and every Saturday. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of my goal from my redshirt, I guess sophomore year, junior year, and senior year, was really just to take off and chase him. So once he started making plays and getting attention, then all of a sudden scouts start showing up. Then all of a sudden agents start finding me on MySpace back then, and Facebook, and talking to my dad. So his success is the reason I even got looked at. So I honestly give a lot of credit to him because he excelled and was doing well, had an awesome career. That helped put Mount Union kind of on the map for, hey, we got some players here that can play ball. And I got drafted, and a few other guys after me got like some camp invites and was able to bounce around the league a little bit. So honestly, going back to what Steve said, his success kind of opened the NFL's eyes to Mount Union. Like, hey, they got some receivers that can play ball.
6 years in the NFL, and we'll get into how it abruptly ended in a moment. But do you have a proud moment or a favorite moment in your 6 years with 3 different teams?
Oh, man. Cleveland game, man. Cleveland game. It was a dream come true to be able to, like, growing up in Cleveland, you always want to play for the Browns, right? Browns, Guardians. I'm going to say it right. Guardians.
Right.
Browns, Guardians, and Cavaliers. That's all I knew. In Ohio State, that's all I knew. So I grew up wanting to play, following the teams. So to be able to come home, I think it was in 2013 or 2014, I don't know which one it was, and have the game-winning catch on your home team and on your home city.
You wait, Cecil, you mean this catch right here?
He's got
Henny going for 6. He's got Shorts. That is a touchdown. What a throw by Henny. And what a terrific catch by Shorts. And the Jaguars, after the 20-yard touchdown pass, are on top.
And they beat Joe Hayden, the Cleveland Browns' best defender, on the one route you could ill afford to give up if you're Joe Hayden, and that's the double move.
That was special.
You mean
man.
that play?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was probably my most memorable moment as a pro, man. Like, to go back home, Mount Union people were there, family, friends were there. That was a special moment for sure.
Yeah, I remember watching that game. It's crazy. That's what
10 years ago.
ago
I can't believe that.
We're getting old. No, the best part though. So like, and you guys know, like in Cleveland in high school, if you do well, you get like plain dealer player of the week, right? Sure. Or you're in the newspaper. Newspapers were big back in that time. So my dad sent me a picture the next day, and a plain dealer on the front of it says "hometown villain" with me catching the ball over Joe Hayden. I'm like, oh, it was crazy. So it's a surreal moment for sure.
I know you're a fan of the Browns, all things Cleveland and Ohio State, but why didn't the Browns ever try to sign you or draft you? Did you hear anything back then that might have, maybe they had an inkling of signing you, or why not? I mean, there were so many.
I did hear some. I remember going into free agency, right before free agency started, they were like, hey, the Browns could be interested. And my agent was like, hey, Cecil would love to play for the Browns, boom, boom, boom. But they just, after that one conversation, they never really got back in touch with my agent or whatnot. And I don't know if I really wanted to play for the Browns at that point in time.
I don't think true. I don't think Browns fans would blame you. They were a dumpster fire there.
Yes,
they had been for a while.
Man, so honestly, I always will and always have followed the Browns when I was playing and I wasn't. So I was in tune to everything that was going on and kind of on the inside of things now because I was in the league. And it's like, that's not a place you really want to be. Would it be cool? Absolutely. Would it be fun? Absolutely. But I think after my time in Jacksonville, it's like I wanted some stability. In Jacksonville, I had 3 head coaches in 4 years. I had 2 GMs in 4 years, 3 offensive coordinators in 4 years. I wanted some stability. I wanted to go somewhere that somebody that wanted me, but at the same time, give me a chance to win and have some stability. You can't win having 2 GMs and 2 owners and different OC every other year and a different head coach every other year. Like my first 3 years was Jack Del Rio, Mike Mularkey, and then Gus Bradley. So 3 head coaches in 3 years. That's not going to work. Like you can't win that way, right? Yeah. You need some type of stability. So I don't know if I honestly wanted. I would have thought about it for sure. It'd have been awesome. But at that point in time, it's different now. I love what they're doing now. Yeah. But from a business standpoint, that point in time, I don't know if I really wanted to be in that building.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
What's up, everyone? I'm Holly Wetzel.
And I'm Tyrus Powell.
And we are your hosts of The Orange is Oranger, a Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network. We give you all the dog pound coverage that you'll need to get you through the regular season, hopeful postseason, and I'd say off-season, Tyvis, but is there really ever an off-season for this team?
Thankfully for our podcast, Holly, there really never is when it comes to the Cleveland Browns. Don't miss our breakdown of each week's matchup, game recaps, and any and all news out of Berea to feed your Browns appetite. As we know, Holly, dogs gotta eat.
Yes, they do. So hit that subscribe button and never miss an episode of the Orange is Oranger, Cleveland Browns podcast on the Press Play Podcast Network.
The R&R podcast going to be rocking and rolling with you because football season is underway. College, Ohio State, the Power Fives, the MAC, the Browns. Michael Regai, are you ready to rock and roll with some football?
Kenny, I've been ready. This is our time of year. This is what R&R is all about. We're going to be with you every week. Kenny just said it, Browns, NFL, Ohio State centric. So you got to stay with us all fall and winter long here on R&R.
That's right. The Regai and Rhoda podcast coming to you here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Subscribe now and don't miss a show.
Well, you wanted stability in your last year heading into the 2016 season. I remember covering the Buccaneers in Tampa. They signed you in September. And you play, I think, maybe 6 or 7 games. And then I remember this, watching it like it was yesterday, Cecil. And I know I don't mean to bring up old wounds here, but walk me through that final game, which ended up being your final game of your career, I believe, in San Diego. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
Yep. It was
Jameis Winston, I think, was the quarterback, pass over the middle, and the rest is history.
So it's interesting. I didn't think I was going to get cut from Houston. I had my best training camp. I had my best training camp as a pro that year. They drafted Will Fuller. They drafted Braxton Miller. So I knew Will was going to get drafted. And then they drafted Braxton. I'm like, okay, whatever. You know how it goes. They draft a guy, they give him every chance, right? And I did my part as far as helping Braxton every chance I got. I'm like, first of all, I'm a Ohio State fan. What's up, brother?
Yeah.
I was rooting for you. Second of all, okay, I know me personally, I can't play this game forever. And I love to coach and I love to give feedback. So I'm going to help Braxton every chance I get. That's just how I was. And that, to me, that's how you last in the league, being a good pro, being a good teammate, right? And I was confident enough in my game, like, hey, I can make plays. I'm fine. I know I'm good enough to play in this league. I'll be good. But I was very surprised. I got cut. I was actually at a wedding, my best friend's wedding. I was the best man in that wedding. And that morning of the wedding, I wasn't even in town. Cuts were already made. I got cut. So I was a late cut. So I ended up going to Tampa the day after the wedding. And then I flew out there from Columbus, Ohio to Tampa, tried out. And they were like, yeah, we were going to sign you, but we just want to make sure you were in shape. So I from Columbus to Tampa and then never left. So I'm like, okay, I had to learn the system, learn everything. And I was just starting to get in the groove with the offense, with the quarterback. I knew the head coach. Help me with the head coach's name. He was my offensive coordinator.
Dirk Cutter?
Dirk Cutter. He was my offensive coordinator my first year in Jacksonville.
Yep.
So we were familiar with each other. So he was like, hey, we're looking for a fourth guy. We're looking for a fourth or fifth receiver, somebody we can rely on, somebody returning kicks every now and then. I'm like, cool, I can be that guy. I can be a pro. Like, that's my goal. 10 years, I can be a pro.
Yeah, because they had Mike Evans.
Yep.
The late Vincent Jackson.
Oh, yeah.
And then I can't remember who the third wide receiver was. It was kind of a shuffling.
Adam Humphries.
Adam Humphries. Yes, you're right. Adam Humphries was there. Yep. Mm-hmm. Cameron Brate was the tight end.
Brate was a tight end. They had Russell Shepard, but he was like a more of a special teams guy.
Yep.
So they were like, we need a fourth or fifth guy. I'm like, okay, I can play that role. And then I think the Chiefs game, I had like 5 or 6 catches for around 50, 60 yards, starting to get the groove. Another game, I think, was it Bears or somebody had a decent game. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to get in the groove.
A home game. I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And then we go to San Diego, like you said. It's my first start. So I kind of earned my right to start that week. Vincent Jackson was out. He tore his ACL. Remember that? He actually played a whole game in Carolina Monday night with a torn ACL.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah. And he ended up stepping away. He walked off the field, played the game. Next day, like, he has a torn ACL. I'm like, oh, wow, that's a tough dude. So I kind of earned my starting spot a few weeks later. And I'll never forget, it's 3rd and 15 in San Diego. And it's man coverage. So it's a safety in the middle of the field. And then there's a cornerback playing kind of outside leverage on me. So I jab outside. He's pressing. I jab outside and I get vertical. And I get to the top of the route. It's a 15-yard in because it was like 3rd and 14 or whatever. When I jab outside, he goes for it. So I'm running inside of my route. And I'm thinking, oh, man, throw it. I'm open. I'm like, throw it. It's my first start with Tampa. I'm about to catch this thing and go to the house. It's going to be a big play. And as soon as I laid my hands on the ball, the middle of the field safety, who I didn't feel or see, came and took my knee out, and I flipped. And I landed down, and I actually caught the ball. I don't know how I hung on to the ball.
Yeah, you caught it. I remember.
It was a first down, and I tried to get up, and I couldn't, but I didn't feel no pain. So I kind of just waved over to the sideline, but they were already running. And they kind of flipped me over and started messing with my knee. And they're kind of jacking with my knee, like just moving it around. And I'm like, hey, can y'all stop that? It kind of hurts. It doesn't hurt until y'all move it around. And they kind of ignored me. And I said, hey, can y'all stop that? It hurts when y'all move it. And they were like, hey, your knee is dislocated. So we're trying to pop it back into place. I said, oh, okay. So I kind of laid back down. I'm like, okay. But at that point in time, I didn't know what that meant. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, dislocated knee. I dislocated my shoulder last year in Houston, only missed 1 game. I'll be back in a week or 2, right? Mm-hmm. Not understanding that when you dislocate your knee, you tear everything in your knee.
Oh.
So I didn't realize that till much later. So I get up on, they're playing with my knee still, and the doctor gives one last hoof, right? Trying to pop my knee back in place. And I didn't know at the time. And I kind of like, but my body's like in shock. So the doctor eventually told me that one last hoof popped your knee back in place, but it probably took everything out. And I didn't know that at the time. So literally after that, both teams come on the field, and I felt the love. I'm like, this is awesome. Like, I appreciate y'all. I've been trying to work hard and earn respect and just go from there. But that play changed my life. That play sadly ended my career.
Yeah.
7 surgeries later.
7 surgeries, man.
7 surgeries later, I got cleared. This is 2023. I think I was cleared in 2021 or 2021 to kind of do everything normal. And even though your knee will never be normal, right?
Right.
You usually have to get a constructive knee surgery or reconstructive knee surgery. So I was in and out of surgeries. So I was stuck in California for about just under a month, living with my agent, who was outstanding, living with his family, but I couldn't move. I was stuck on the couch. I literally slept with my knee in the air. They couldn't do nothing. They didn't want me to move my knee. And then they staged my surgery. So my first surgery was in California. They were scared of me to leave California because of, I guess, something in the air, the flight, whatever. So my wife flew into town, and I was 2 or 3 centimeters away from getting my leg amputated. And I didn't know that. They didn't tell me that till years later. But I was 2 or 3 centimeters away from getting my leg amputated. So I was stuck. That was one of the reasons I was stuck in California. They wouldn't let me move my knee. And I had to ride in the back of a car to get to Orange County from San Diego, live with my agent. And I got my first surgery with Dr. Elitrash in LA. So any travel I did was just crazy harmful. It was just so much pain, so much medicine I'm on, so much pain. And then my first surgery happens. I go home to Houston. And then from there, it was surgery, rehab, surgery, rehab, surgery, rehab. And after every rehab session, I feel like, okay, I'm getting better. I can bend my knee. Another surgery comes and I lose all my strength. I lose everything. And you start that rehab process.
Yeah, to reset your whole body.
And it was terrible. It was some of the worst times of my life. But I grew in that time. I grew in that time. I think I'm a better man because of that time, but it was just, it's hard to think about, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
It's hard to realize, you go through that many surgeries and rehab over and over again. And it was one point I couldn't bend my knee. Like my knee was stuck straight. And the doctor's trying to jump on it and bend it. Therapist trying to jump on it and bend it. It was 2 gentlemen jumping on my knee, trying to bend it. My knee would not bend. That's how much scar tissue was built up on it. So they had to go in and cut all that scar tissue out. And then every day I had to bend my knee. And I was in tears. I was in tears, how painful it was. Some of the rehab we had to do. And I did rehab with some guys, man. I did rehab with Earl Thomas and some other Case Keenum. There's some really good guys that kind of helped me get through. But it was a tough period, man. Yeah, it was a tough period.
You already talked about the physical transition with your knee issues. Just how about the other, the personal transition coming out of the NFL and getting into what we call the real world? I mean, you're great now, but you're having a lot of success. Was there a time there where you're like, okay, what do I do and how do I make this transition, or was it easy for you?
No, I was lost. And I think this is a topic that not enough people are talking about. Football in particular, but of course, any professional sports athlete, but football in particular, it's a tough transition to go from being catered to. You have everything that you can ever possibly want. You're structured. You have this lifestyle, and then boom, all of a sudden, you don't. All of a sudden, it's over. Now you have to figure out who you are, right? And it's tough to balance. Or for me, it was tough to balance who I was. I had a lost identity because it felt good I went to a Division III school. I got drafted. I was playing 6 years. It felt good to be recognized. Like it felt good to have somebody,
be appreciated.
You felt appreciated. I felt like an underdog my whole life. I felt like I had to grind and work, and I worked so hard, and I finally feel appreciated. So I loved the love that I was getting, and it was addictive. So to lose that and to look at myself as only a football player, and I realized what else can I do? What else can I be? It was a struggle, and it was a struggle for a long period of time. Had to get a therapist. had to really dive deep into who I am. I had to really dive deep into my Christianity. I had to really dive deep into who I was as a man, as a father, as a son, as a friend. And it took years for me to get to the point where I'm at now. I'm able to function and be happy and move on. It's still a battle at times. But it's hard mentally, that transition to go from being catered to being the guy, to being you're popular, to now you're done. Who are you really? Now I don't have football. What do I do? Now, you're not going to make $300,000 a week or whatever it is right now. How are you going to provide for your family, right? It was just difficult. It was difficult, and I don't think it's talked about enough. I think transition's hard in general, no matter who you are. But when you're at the highest of your particular profession, and then now that's taken away from you and you're 29, 28 years old, what do you do?
It's funny. Everybody talks about, at least in recent years, professional athletes going broke, people not managing their money. That's been always the big thing. But you're right. Not managing yourself and how to look inside. That's something that you're right. That's not talked about.
It's not talked about. It needs to be talked about more. It just has to, because guys need the help. When you're 21 years old and you go in the first round, or if you're on an NFL team, you're so focused on that. Like especially for me, I'll speak for myself. I was 23, 24, 25, 26 years old, and I wasn't a superstar. I had to earn my way every day. So my focus was on football. I wasn't trying to think about after football at that time. I wasn't trying to think about setting up other plans or setting up life after football. I'm focused on what the task is at hand, because I had to be focused on that, right? That may be different nowadays, because now they're kind of promoting more. Hey, you can do more with, LeBron James, you're more than an athlete, or whatever the case may be, right? You see more athletes stepping out into different realms and doing things while they're playing. But when you're a guy that's, if a 53-man roster, one is most important and 53 is least important, and I'm somewhere between 30 and 53 fighting for my life, that's where my focus is. So we need to talk about this more, to help guys transition better, to help guys understand, hey, there's more to life than football. You play 12 years, awesome. But guess what? You're probably retired at 34 years old.
Right. Right.
There's a whole other 34 years of life, God willing, that you will have. What's next? Who are you? What do you want to dive into? And it's tough, because NFL, they send people to talk to you. They send former players, they send guys to talk to you. But at 21 years old, you're not trying to hear that.
No.
At 25 years old, you're not trying to hear that, right? Especially if you're a guy in the fringe. If you're a guy in the fringe that's about to get cut or could be cut, you're focused on, oh, that's cool. I'm focused on what play I got to do.
Right.
I'm focused on getting healthy. I'm focused on what can I do to get better. So, yeah, it's definitely a moment, or definitely something we need to talk about more, for sure.
Yeah. So what we like to do is we like to, with a lot of our guests, all of our guests, is do some rapid fire questions. They're real easy ones. Could be 1-word answers, half sentence answers, and we call it just rapid fire. You ready? Real easy layup questions.
Let's do it.
All righty. John, you want to take the first one?
When not coaching or watching NFL or playing with your kids, what's a favorite hobby that Cecil Shorts loves to do?
Ooh.
He's a busy man too, so
He
maybe all those are hobbies.
Sometimes you're so busy you don't have a hobby.
All right.
Sleep.
Yes. Amen.
Well, when you got 7 kids and you got multiple jobs, you need all the sleep you can get.
Do you have a favorite show you're streaming when you do have a few minutes to sit down on the couch?
Or when you're not sleeping?
Yes, absolutely. It's a show right now called Force. It's on Stars, Power. It's off the Power series called Force. This is a really good show. My wife and I are kind of into it right now, so we're binging that show.
Favorite NFL stadium and city you like to play in? So a 2-parter there.
Ooh,
it could be 2 answers or a couple.
Favorite NFL stadium? It was a simple stadium, Lambeau Field. I think it's more historic. I just had a really good appreciation for that particular place. Like, the Packers are like a blue blood for me. So favorite city to play in, you know what? Seattle was a lot of fun to play in. I don't think it's common. I love playing in Seattle. It was cool. Nice city.
Is there a stadium that you that you didn't really like to play in? You saw it on the schedule and you're like, oh boy, I don't like playing here for whatever reason.
I hated the Colts, so I didn't like playing in whatever that place is called.
Yeah.
The old ones, that would have been Lucas Oil
Lucas
now,
Oil,
or the
yeah.
old
Lucas
RCA
Oil.
Dome.
Yeah, we played there. I mean, I played for the Texans and the Jaguars, so
Yeah.
we played there all the time. I'm just like, I don't like this place.
Yeah, we had Phil Dawson on last year, and he said the biggest one he hated was Soldier Field in Chicago because the grass was like a cow pasture, and he said like they had, the city workers cleaning it and cutting it, and not necessarily grooms lawn people. All right, a couple more, then we'll let you go, Cecil. Any pregame rituals you had from your playing days? Any superstitions type things like that?
I wouldn't talk. Like I was quiet before games. So like I'll have my headphones on, I'll walk the circle of the field, kind of walk up and down field to field, but I wouldn't say too much. Like game day, it was just I was focused. And I kind of got that from my dad. In high school, he wouldn't let us talk going to the game, probably because we were knuckleheads. But yeah, I wouldn't talk. I'll just listen to my music and get focused.
Greatest player you played with or greatest player you played against that you look back and is at the top of your list?
Ooh, I played with a few great players: Maurice Jones-Drew, DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans, Daryl Smith, Brad Meester. It was some really good players I played with. And then what was the other question?
Played against.
My rookie year, I played against Ray Lewis and Ed Reed. That was unbelievable. They were older, but it was unbelievable the plays they were still able to make and how intimidating they were just on the field.
Wow, I can't imagine. When you're back home here in Cleveland visiting family, friends, where are some places you like to go out to eat?
We always try to go to Kim's Wings over by my old high school in Collinwood, so off St. Clair. Kim's
I've
Wings.
heard about that place.
Really, really good. Love that place, man. We used to skip school to go to that place. Hey, I didn't mention JJ Watt.
Okay.
Yeah, going back to the last question. He was
sure.
He was special, of course.
Is there name one thing you'd change about the NFL?
Only one.
Alrighty, well.
Guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
And grass fields.
Well, it's interesting because your injury happened on a grass field, which crazy to think about with all the injuries that happen on the field turfs now. So,
Yep.
Okay. Last question. I know you're a Browns fan. Got to ask you, what are your thoughts on quickly the Browns, Deshaun Watson? Do you think they make the playoffs? What's your outlook on them real quick before we let you go?
Okay. So, a few things. One, the Browns defense is phenomenal. I don't know what happened against the Colts. I didn't like that game, but the Browns defense is the real deal. Top 10 defense. They can shut anybody down if they pay attention to their assignments. The run game is there regardless of who's back there. They can run the dang on football. They will make the playoffs, but the success of how far we get in the playoffs depends on number 4.
Mm-hmm.
If number 4 is healthy and plays like himself, you could go far. If he continues to try to force things, because to me, I watched him in Houston, and I watched him the last game he got hurt. I'm sorry, not Pittsburgh. Not the Saints game. The Saints game before that, I think it was Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
He was forcing things. He was trying to force getting out the pocket and throw it downfield. No, just be yourself. Take what the defense gives you. You don't got to do nothing, but don't turn the ball over. If you don't turn the ball over and you find Amari Cooper down the field and you run the ball well, the defense will hold the opponents to under whatever many points, but you got to help them out by not having turnovers. So you're giving this man $230 million. He has to show up. That's just what it is. The success and how far you go depends on number 4. Can he live up to the money? Can he live up to who he's supposed to be? And we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure he'll be 100% the rest of the year, Cecil. So we may have to wait till next year for that, unfortunately.
Don't tell me that.
I know. Such is life as a Browns fan, right?
Cecil, it has been a tremendous pleasure talking to you about all sorts of stuff, football, life, all these things. And you mentioned things that, that should be talked about more. We thank you so much for joining us here on our podcast. And, we hope to talk to you soon. And, don't be a stranger. We'd love to kind of catch up with you later on down the line, talk about family and talk about how you're doing and how everybody's doing here in the next, months and years ahead.
Well, I'm very grateful. I appreciate y'all. And please, anytime, man. I know we're both busy. Y'all got a crazy schedule. I got a crazy schedule. But anytime we can make it work, I'm all in.
You got it. You can follow Cecil Shorts on Twitter or X now, I guess, at C Shorts. 3. I guess that would be the Roman numerals.
I 111.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Cecil, for stopping by here on Sabol Brothers on the Baseline Podcast right here on the Press Play Podcast Network. Remember, follow the pod at Sabol Brothers. Subscribe. That helps out the algorithm, helps out the pod quite a bit. You can follow yours truly at John_Sabol.
And you can follow me at Scott Sabol FOX8 on Twitter or X.
Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. We'll check you guys next time.